deep within the lush rainforests of South America, where dense jungle stretches beyond the horizon and vast coffee plantations cover the fertile land. There lived a legendary explorer known as Captain Para. He was famous for sailing along the rivers and forests of Brazil, searching for hidden mysteries that few dared to investigate. One humid morning, Captain Para stood before a giant map of South America pinned to the wall of his jungle outpost. As he studied the map, his eyes focused on Brazil, the heart of his adventures. This image is your first clue. Whenever you see Captain Para standing before the map of Brazil, think immediately of Paracoccidioides brasiliensis, the fungus responsible for South American blastomycosis, a disease found primarily in Central and South America, especially Brazil. As Captain Para prepared for another expedition, a violent coughing fit suddenly interrupted him. He bent forward, struggling to catch his breath. The cough seemed deep and persistent, as though something had settled within his lungs. Around his neck, several swollen lumps had appeared, making it difficult to ignore his illness. The local villagers watched with concern as the captain continued coughing. These symptoms are important clues because Paracoccidioides brasiliensis commonly causes pulmonary disease, producing chronic cough and respiratory symptoms. The swollen lumps on his neck represent lymphadenopathy, another characteristic manifestation of the infection. As the disease progresses, painful ulcers may also develop within the mouth and mucosal surfaces, making speaking and eating increasingly difficult. Determined to discover the cause of his illness, Captain Para traveled deeper into the jungle. As he walked through rows of coffee plants stretching across the hillsides, he noticed a curious armadillo emerging from the undergrowth. The armadillo seemed strangely familiar, almost as though it were trying to guide him somewhere. The captain followed it through the plantation until they reached a clearing where the soil appeared disturbed. This scene is another memory anchor. The coffee fields remind us that this fungus is endemic to rural agricultural regions of South America, while the armadillo represents one of the animals commonly associated with the environment where the organism is found. Whenever you imagine the armadillo wandering through Brazilian coffee plantations, remember the geographic distribution of Paracoccidioides brasiliensis. In the center of the clearing, Captain Para discovered an abandoned observation station containing a microscope. Curious, he placed a sample beneath the lens and peered through the eyepiece. What he saw immediately captured his attention. At the center was a large round yeast cell surrounded by multiple smaller buds radiating outward in all directions. The arrangement looked exactly like the wheel of a ship. As a seasoned captain, he instantly recognized the resemblance. It looked like a magnificent captain's wheel mounted on the deck of a vessel. This is the most famous microscopic feature of Paracoccidioides brasiliensis. The organism forms multiple budding yeast cells arranged around a central mother cell, creating the classic captain's wheel appearance. This characteristic appearance is one of the highest yield features tested in examinations. Every spoke on that wheel represents another budding yeast attached to the central parent cell. Captain Para stared through the microscope for several minutes, fascinated by the unusual structure. The more he looked, the more it resembled the wheel of the ship he had sailed for many years. Suddenly the connection became clear. The mysterious organism causing his cough, swollen lymph nodes, and illness throughout the jungle was none other than Paracoccidioides brasiliensis. The captain realized that this unique captain's wheel appearance would become the key to recognizing the disease forever. Any student who remembers the image of a sea captain discovering a captain's wheel under a microscope will never forget the characteristic morphology of this fungus. As evening approached, Captain Para returned to his outpost, carrying the microscope slides. His cough persisted, and the swollen nodes on his neck had become even more noticeable. Fortunately, waiting on his desk was a bottle of medicine labeled Itraconazole. The local physician explained that for mild to moderate disease, Itraconazole was the preferred treatment. Relieved to finally have an answer, Captain Para began the therapy. Over the following weeks, his cough gradually improved, the swollen lymph nodes became smaller, and his strength slowly returned. The bottle of Itraconazole became a powerful symbol of recovery and serves as the final clue in this story. Whenever you see Captain Para holding a bottle labeled Itraconazole, remember that Itraconazole is the primary treatment for mild to moderate Paracoccidioides infection. Now imagine the entire journey once more. Picture Captain Para standing before the map of Brazil, representing Paracoccidioides brasiliensis, the cause of South American blastomycosis. See him coughing deeply with swollen lymph nodes, reminding you of the pulmonary symptoms and lymphadenopathy associated with the disease. Watch him follow an armadillo through Brazilian coffee plantations, reinforcing the endemic regions of Central and South America. Observe him peering through a microscope and discovering the famous captain's wheel yeast, the classic multiple budding morphology that defines the organism. Finally, see him recovering while holding a bottle of Itraconazole, the treatment of choice for mild to moderate disease. Through this single unforgettable jungle adventure, the entire story of Paracoccidioides brasiliensis comes together. A South American fungal pathogen found especially in Brazil, associated with agricultural environments, presenting with pulmonary disease, lymphadenopathy, and mucosal involvement, identified by its iconic captain's wheel appearance and treated effectively with Itraconazole. Whenever you remember Captain Para, his wheel, his cough, the armadillo, and the Brazilian jungle, you will instantly recall the essential features of Paracoccidioides brasiliensis.